What's up, you guys? We are on week 2, day 2. And remember, the tagline, the prompt for this week is giving up is not an option, which is the plan that I am following, which is the Bible in 52 weeks, a year-long Bible plan. And so the chapters for today are Genesis chapters 26 and 29. And I'm so excited for this. We're in day 2. In my own Bible reading time, I'm reading Psalms right now and Exodus, which this whole week will be Genesis. And then next week on week 3, we finish off Genesis on day 1. And then I believe we get into Exodus, which is so good. Like, I'm really loving Exodus. And I'll admit, I don't know if I've ever read Exodus before, but I'm really digging it. I'm really loving just the beginning of how Moses started his ministry, because I feel like I can relate to that. Like, it's crazy and it's sad that I feel like I can relate to Moses' weaknesses. Like, I don't relate to like the part that everyone knows about Moses of, him being so great or whatever. I relate to the parts when he protested God and was like, get somebody else, Lord, And so anyway, so I'm really loving Exodus, and we'll be getting into Exodus next week. So, I just want to, just say, like, all of the Genesis can be a hard book to get through, at least just the descendants part, because it does have a lot of really, really good historical stuff in Genesis. And when I say historical, I'm just saying, like, this really happened. Okay. That's all I'm saying is, like, this really happened. The Old Testament really happened. It is history. It's historical. And so, but some parts of it can be really hard to get through and read through and continue to want to do this, because reading all of these names, you guys, like, it's very humbling for me to come on here and read the Bible. I'm not going to lie. When I'm reading it, I'm trying to read these names, I feel like I sound so dumb. And I promise you guys, like, if I was reading any other book, I wouldn't sound this dumb. But just the Bible, it has a way of humbling you. Like, I'm so humbled because I just feel like, some people are just gonna, like, talk about me and be like, she shouldn't be doing it, she shouldn't be reading the Bible, like, she doesn't even know what she's saying, like, did you hear how she mispronounced that word? Like, I know, and like, blah, 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 blah. And it's like, and the good thing that I stopped caring what other people think a long time ago. So I'm able to still go on and do this. And so I encourage you, like, who cares what people think? Like, do what God is calling you to do, because there is a greatness on the other side for you to discover that is within you. Why? Because we are created in the image of God. Like, people say that, like, so casually, like, oh yeah, we're created in the image of God. Like, nah, bro, like, we are created in the image of God, Like, if we would just grasp that within our core, I am telling you, if you just grasp that one thing, that we're created in the image of God, you will become unstoppable. And I mean unstoppable. Like, it doesn't matter if the door isn't open, because God will open it. You will walk through it. Like, I'm just saying, like, oof. Okay. So much. Okay. So today we're going to be reading day 2, Genesis 26 and 29. And I need my glasses now because my eyes are like, they're just not like what they used to be anymore. These glasses are so old. Like, I need to go get another pair, but they work though. So chapter 26, I'm reading the NLT, you guys. There we go. Can you guys see that? Okay, I'm reading the NLT. There's like a bit of a glare, but I'm reading the NLT for now, but I will tomorrow I'll try to do a different translation that I haven't done yet. I've done the NIV, I've done the NLT. King James is like even harder. I feel like when I'll read King James, maybe we could do it on, like, when we're not talking about, like, all the descendants and stuff, because then I'm really just gonna sound a fool. But let's get started on chapter 26. Yes, so we'll do chapter 26 to 29 today. And chapter 26 starts with a a severe famine now struck the land, and it talks about Isaac deceives. See, here's another name: Abimelech. Abimelech. Is it Lech or Lech? Abimelech. We'll go with that. A severe famine now struck the land, as had happened before in Abraham's time. So Isaac moved to Gerar, where Abimelech, king of Philistines, lived. The Lord appeared to Isaac and said, "Do not go down to Egypt, but do as I tell you. Live here as a foreigner in this land, and I will be with you and bless you. I hereby confirm that I will give all these lands to you and your descendants. Just as I solemnly promised Abraham, your father, I will cause your descendants to become as numerous as the stars of the sky, and I will give them all these lands, and through your descendants, all the nations of the earth will be blessed. I will do this because Abraham listened to me and obeyed all my requirements, commands, decrees, and instructions." So Isaac stayed in Gerar. So I love that. See, he's saying this, they're blessed. And see, this is how, and it says, you guys are blessed. Abraham listened to me and obeyed all my requirements, commands, decrees, and instructions. And here's the thing: I think we focus too much on generational curses instead of generational blessings. And, that blessing, that's a generational blessing from Abraham. That's amazing. And so it says, when the men who lived there asked Isaac about his wife, Rebekah, he said, "She is my sister." He was afraid to say, "She is my wife." He thought they would kill me to get her because she is so beautiful. But sometime later, Abimelech, the king of the Philistines, looked out his window and saw Isaac caressing Rebekah. Immediately, Abimelech called for Isaac and exclaimed, "She is obviously your wife. Why did you say she is my sister?" "Because I was afraid someone would kill me to get her from me," Isaac replied. "How could you do this to us?" Abimelech exclaimed, "One of my people might easily have taken your wife and slept with her, and you would have made us guilty of great sin." Then Abimelech issued a public proclamation: "Anyone who touches this man or his wife will be put to death." And then conflict over water rights. When Isaac planted his crops that year, he harvested 100 times more grain than he planted, for the Lord blessed him. He became a very rich man, and his wealth continued to grow. He acquired so many flocks of sheep and goats, herds of cattle, and servants that the Philistines became jealous of him. So the Philistines filled up all of Isaac's wells with dirt. These were the wells that had been dug by the servants of his father Abraham. Finally, Abimelech ordered Isaac to leave the country. "Go somewhere else," he said, "for you have become too powerful for us." And I really do believe, like, when you are in the will of God, when you are obeying his commandments, he really does bless you. Like, he abundantly blesses you. It says, so Isaac moved away from Gerar Valley, where he set up their tent and settled down. He reopened the wells his father had dug, which the Philistines had filled in after Abraham's death. Isaac also restored the names Abraham had given them. Isaac's servants also dug in the Gerar Valley and discovered a well of fresh water. But then the shepherds from Gerar came and claimed the spring. "This is our water," they said, and they argued over it with Isaac's herdsmen. So Isaac named the well a Sek, which means argument. Isaac's men then dug another well, but again, there was a dispute over it. So Isaac named it Sitnah, which means hostility, abandoning that one. Isaac moved on and dug another well. This time there was no dispute over it. So Isaac named the place Rehoboth, which means open space, where he said, "At last the Lord has created enough space for us to prosper in this land." From there, Isaac moved to Beersheba, where the Lord appeared to him on the night of his arrival. "I am the God of your father Abraham," he said. "Do not be afraid, for I am with you and will bless you. I will multiply your descendants, and they will become a great nation. I will do this because of my promise to Abraham, my servant." Then Isaac built an altar there and worshiped the Lord. He set up his camp at that place, and his servants dug another well. Isaac's covenant with Abimelech one day. Oh, okay. So Isaac's covenant with Abimelech. So we're on verse 26. It says, "One day King Abimelech came from Gerar with his advisor Husath, and also Pekol, his army commander. 'Why have you come here?' Isaac asked. 'You obviously hate me since you kicked me off your land.' They replied, 'We can plainly see that the Lord is with you.'" And isn't that so true? Like, can we just see when the Lord is with someone, because they just, I feel like they just carry themselves differently, like they're just not as stressed as like maybe anybody else would be in that situation. Like they just, I don't know, they thrive easier. At least that's what it seems like. So anyways, that says we can plainly see that the Lord is with you. So we want to enter into a sworn treaty with you. Let's make a covenant. Swear that you will not harm us, just as we have never troubled you. We have, although didn't they kick them out? Anyway, okay. So it says, just as we have never troubled you, we have always treated you well, and we sent you away from us in peace. And now look how the Lord has blessed you. So Isaac prepared a covenant feast to celebrate the treaty, and they ate and drank together. Early the next morning, they each took a solemn oath not to interfere with each other. Then Isaac sent them home again, and they left him in peace. That very day, Isaac's servants came and told him about a new well they had dug. We found water, they exclaimed. So Isaac named the well Shabah, which means oath. And to this day, the town that grew up there is called Beersheba, which means well of the oath. At the age of 40, Esau married two Hittite wives, Judith, the daughter of Beri, and Basmith, the daughter of Elon. But Esau's wives made life miserable for Isaac and Rebekah. Wow. Okay, so let's see. We're reading till 29 today. So we're on chapter 27. And it says, Jacob steals Esau's blessing. One day when Isaac was old and turning blind, he called for Esau, his older son, and said, my son. Yes, father, Esau replied. I'm an old man now, Isaac said, and I don't know when I may die. Take your bow and a quiver full of arrows and go into the open country to hunt some wild game for me. Prepare my favorite dish and bring it here for me to eat. Then I will pronounce the blessing that belongs to you, my firstborn son, before I die. But Rebekah overheard. So remember Rebekah, his wife, the children's mom, overheard what Isaac had said to his son Esau. So when Esau left to hunt for the wild game, she said to her son Jacob, listen, I overheard your father say to Esau, bring me some wild game and prepare me a delicious meal. Then I will bless you in the Lord's presence before I die. Now, my son, listen to me. Do exactly as I tell you. Go out to the flocks and bring me 2 fine young goats. I'll use them to prepare your father's favorite dish. Then take the food to your father so he can eat it and bless you before he dies. But look, Jacob replied to Rebekah, my brother Esau is a hairy man and my skin is smooth. What if my father touches me? He'll see that I'm trying to trick him, and then he'll curse me instead of blessing me. But his mother replied, then let the curse fall on me, my son. Just do what I tell you. Go out and get the goats for me. So Jacob went out and got the young goats for his mother. Rebekah took them and prepared a delicious meal just the way Isaac liked it. Then she took Esau's favorite clothes, which were there in the house, and gave them to her younger son, Jacob. She covered his arms and the smooth part of his neck with the skin of the young goats. So then she gave Jacob the delicious meal, including freshly baked bread. I want some bread. I want some bread right now. I haven't eaten yet. And so I would love some bread. But I am having the bread of life, though. So there's that. Okay, it says, verse 18. So Jacob took the food to his father. My father, he said. Yes, my son. Isaac answered, who are you, Esau or Jacob? Jacob replied, it's Esau, your firstborn son. I've done as you told me. Here is the wild game. Now sit up and eat it so you can give me your blessing. Isaac asked, how did you find it so quickly, my son? The Lord, your God, put it in my path, Jacob replied. Then Isaac said to Jacob, come closer so I can touch you and make sure that you really are Esau. So Jacob went closer to his father, and Isaac touched him. The voice is Jacob's, but the hands are Esau's, Isaac said. But he did not recognize Jacob because Jacob's hands felt hairy just like Esau's. So Isaac prepared to bless Jacob. But are you really my son Esau? He asked. Yes, I am, Jacob replied. Then Isaac said, now my son, bring me the wild game. Let me eat it, and then I will give you my blessing. So Jacob took the food to his father. And Isaac ate it. He also drank the wine that Jacob served him. Then Isaac said to Jacob, "Please come a little closer and kiss me, my son." So Jacob went over and kissed him. And when Isaac caught the smell of his clothes, he was finally convinced, and he blessed his son. He said, "Ah, the smell of my son is like the smell of the outdoors, which the Lord has blessed." And then we're on verse 28. From the dew of heaven and the riches of the earth, may God always give you abundant harvest of grain and bountiful new wine. May many nations become your servants, and may the bow and may they bow down to you. May you be the master over your brothers, and may your mother's sons bow down to you. All who curse you will be cursed, and all who bless you will be blessed. As soon as Isaac had finished blessing Jacob, and almost before Jacob had left his father, Esau returned from his hunt. Esau prepared a delicious meal and brought it to his father. Then he said, "Sit up, my father, and eat my wild game, so you can give me your blessing." But Isaac asked him, "Who are you?" Esau replied, "It's your son, your firstborn son, Esau." Isaac began to tremble uncontrollably and said, "Then who just served me wild game? I have already eaten it, and I blessed him just before you came. And yes, that blessing must stand." Like, that's how it's crazy. Like, that's how important your word was, that you can't be like, "Oh, never mind, that was actually meant for so and so," which I would think you should be, because like the trickery, but that's like how it was back then. Like, you couldn't just change your mind. Like, a promise was a promise. Like, your word stood for something, or it stood for nothing, and so I just think it's like, it's wow. Like, and our word should stand for something, it should be like that. Like, our word should mean something. So then it says, let's see. So we're on verse 34. It says, when Esau heard his father's words, he let out a loud and bitter cry. "Oh, my father, what about me? Bless me too," he begged. But Isaac said, "Your brother was here and he tricked me. He has taken away your blessing." Esau exclaimed, "No wonder his name is Jacob, for now he has cheated me twice. First, he took my rights as the firstborn, and now he has stolen my blessing. Oh, haven't you saved even one blessing for me?" Isaac said to Esau, "I have made Jacob your master and have declared that all his brothers will be his servants. I have guaranteed him an abundance of grain and wine. What is left for me to give you, my son?" Esau pleaded, "But do you have only one blessing? Oh, my father, bless me too." Then Esau broke down and wept. Finally, his father Isaac said to him, wow. Okay. So finally, his father said to him, "You will live away from the richness of the earth and away from the dew of the heavens above. You will live by your sword, and you will serve your brother. But when you decide to break free, you shall shake his yoke from your neck." Wow. Wow, wow, wow. Okay. Jacob flees to Paddan Aram. From that time on, Esau hated Jacob because their father had given Jacob the blessing, and Esau began to scheme, "I will soon be mourning my father's death. Then I will kill my brother Jacob." But Rebekah heard about Esau's plans, so she sent for Jacob and told him, "Listen, Esau is consoling himself by plotting to kill you. So listen carefully, my son. Get ready and flee to my brother Laban in Haran. Stay there with him until your brother cools off. When he comes down and forgets what you have done to him, I will send for you to come back. Why should I lose both of you in one day?" Then Rebekah said to Isaac, "I'm sick and tired of these local Hittite women. I would rather die than see Jacob marry one of them." Wow, that's like so much, so much to take in. Okay, we're on chapter 28. So we just have chapters 28 and 29, which isn't too much longer. Chapter 28 says, "So Isaac called for Jacob, blessed him, and said, 'You must not marry one of these Canaanite women. Instead, go at once to Paddan Aram, to the house of your grandfather Bethel, and marry one of your uncle Laban's daughters. May God Almighty bless you and give you many children, and may your descendants multiply and become many nations. May God pass on to you and your descendants the blessings he promised to Abraham. May you own this land where you are now living as a foreigner, for God gave this land to Abraham.' So Isaac sent Jacob away, and he went to Paddan Aram to stay with his uncle Laban, his mother's brother, the son of Bethuel the Aramean. Esau knew that his father Isaac had blessed Jacob and sent him to Padan Aram to find a wife, and that he had warned Jacob, you must not marry a Canaanite woman. He also knew that Jacob had obeyed his parents and gone to Padan Aram. It was now very clear to Esau that his father did not like the local Canaanite women. So Esau visited his uncle Ishmael's family and married one of Ishmael's daughters. In addition to the wives he already had, his new wife's name was Mahalath. She was the sister of Nebaioth and the daughter of Ishmael, Abraham's son. See, this is when I have to start making all the connections of whose son was whose, and like when it goes down the timeline. Okay, it says Jacob's dream at Bethel. Meanwhile, Jacob left Beersheba and traveled toward Haran. At sundown, he arrived at a good place to set up camp and stopped there for the night. Jacob found a stone to rest his head against and lay down to sleep. As he slept, he dreamed of a stairway that reached from the earth up to heaven, and he saw the angels of God going up and down the stairway. At the top of the stairway stood the Lord, and he said, I am the Lord, the God of your grandfather Abraham and the God of your father Isaac. The ground you are laying on belongs to you. I'm giving it to you and your descendants. Your descendants will be as numerous as the dust of the earth. They will spread out in all directions, to the west and the east, to the north and south, and all the families of the earth will be blessed through you and your descendants. What's more, I am with you, and I will protect you wherever you go. One day I will bring you back to this land. I will not leave you until I have finished giving you everything I have promised. I actually underlined that because I think sometimes it's hard to remember the promises of God, and it's good to know, like, God is not done until his promises are complete. Like, he is not going to leave a promise or a vision incomplete. And so I love that it says, I will not leave you until I have finished giving you everything I have promised you. I receive that. Receive that. And then it says, verse 16, then Jacob awoke from his sleep and said, surely the Lord is in this place, and I wasn't even aware of it. Wow, surely the Lord was in this place, and I wasn't even aware of it. But he was also afraid and said, what an awesome place this is. It is none other than the house of God, the very gateway to heaven. The next morning, Jacob got up very early. He took the stone he had rested his head against, and he set it upright as a memorial pillar. Then he poured olive oil over it. He named that place Bethel, which means house of God, although it was previously called Luz. Then Jacob made this vow. If God will indeed be with me and protect me on this journey, if he will provide me with food and clothing, if I return safely to my father's home, then the Lord will certainly be my God. And this memorial pillar I have set up will become a place for worshiping God, and I will present to God a tenth of everything he gives me. And, that's like another example of tithing, like where you give 10% of everything that you get. I truly believe that every blessing that we have, financial, everything is from God. I believe this house is from God. I believe the clothing that I have, the food that I have because God gave it to me. I really believe that God has given me everything that I have. And I believe as he gives, he can take away. So don't get so like braggadocious about what you have, because in the next second, boom, it could be gone. Gone with the wind. So we're on the last chapter, you guys, which is chapter 29, Genesis 29. And then we'll end there. Day 2, week 2. We're almost there. Okay, so Jacob arrives at Padan Aram. Then Jacob hurried on, finally arriving in the land of the east. He saw a well in the distance. 3 flocks of sheep and goats lay in an open field beside it, waiting to be watered. But a heavy stone covered the mouth of this well. It was the custom there to wait for all the flocks to arrive before removing the stone and watering the animals. Afterward, the stone would be placed back over the mouth of the well. Jacob went to the shepherds and asked, where are you from, my friends? We are from Haran, they answered. Do you know a man there named Laban, the grandson of Nahor? He asked. Yes, we do, they replied. Is he doing well? Jacob asked. Yes, he's well, they answered. Look, here comes his daughter Rachel with the flock now. Jacob said, look, it's still broad daylight, too early to round up the animals. Why don't you water the sheep and goats so they can get back out to pasture? We can't water the animals until all the flocks have arrived, they replied. Then the shepherds moved the stone from the mouth of the well, and we and we water all the sheep and goats. Jacob was still talking with them when Rachel arrived with her father's flock, for she was a shepherd. And because Rachel was his cousin, the daughter of Laban, his mother's brother, and because the sheep and goats belonged to his uncle Laban, Jacob went over to the well and moved the stone from its mouth and watered his uncle's flock. Then Jacob kissed Rachel and he wept out loud. He explained to Rachel that he was her cousin on her father's side, the son of her aunt Rebekah. So Rachel quickly ran and told her father Laban. As soon as Laban heard that his nephew Jacob had arrived, he ran out to meet him. He embraced and kissed him and brought him home. When Jacob had told him his story, Laban exclaimed, "You really are my own flesh and blood." And then now we're going on to where Jacob marries Leah and Rachel. Oh, yes. We remember this story, don't we? So Jacob marries Leah and Rachel. We just got a few more scripture, you guys, and then we're done for today. So it says, after Jacob had stayed with Laban for about a month, Laban said to him, "You shouldn't work for me without pay just because we are relatives. Tell me how much your wages should be." Now Laban had two daughters. The older daughter was named Leah, and the younger one was Rachel. There was no sparkle in Leah's eyes, but Rachel had a beautiful figure and a lovely face. Since Jacob was in love with Rachel, he told her father, "I'll work for you for 7 years if you give me Rachel, your younger daughter, as my wife." "Agreed," Laban replied. "I'd rather give her to you than to anyone else. Stay and work with me." So Jacob worked 7 years to pay for Rachel, but his love for her was so strong that it seemed to him but a few days. Because his love for her was so strong. Finally, the time came for him to marry her. "I have fulfilled my agreement," Jacob said to Laban. "Now give me my wife so I can sleep with her." So Laban invited everyone in the neighborhood and prepared a wedding feast. But that night, when it was dark, Laban took Leah to Jacob and he slept with her. Laban had given Leah a servant, Zilpah, to be her maid. But when Jacob woke up in the morning, it was Leah. "What have you done to me?" Jacob raged at Laban. "I worked 7 years for Rachel. Why have you tricked me?" Verse 26, it says, "It's not our custom here to marry off a younger daughter ahead of the firstborn." Laban replied, "But wait until the bridal week is over, then we'll give you Rachel too, provided you promise to work another 7 years for me." So Jacob agreed to work 7 more years. A week after Jacob had married Leah, Laban gave him Rachel too. Laban gave Rachel a servant, Bilhah, to be her maid. So Jacob slept with Rachel too, and he loved her much more than Leah. He then stayed and worked for Laban the additional 7 years. So he worked for Rachel 14 years. Imagine. Wow. It says, Jacob's many children. When the Lord saw that Leah was unloved, he enabled her to have children, but Rachel could not conceive. So Leah became pregnant and gave birth to a son. She named him Reuben, for she said, "The Lord has noticed my misery, and now my husband will love me." She soon became pregnant again and gave birth to another son. She named him Simon, or is it Simeon? Simon or Simeon? I don't know. For she said, "The Lord heard that I was unloved and has given me another son." Then she became pregnant a third time and gave birth to another son. He was named Levi, for she said, "Surely this time my husband will feel affection for me, since I have given him 3 sons." Once again, Leah became pregnant and gave birth to another son. She named him Judah, for she said, "Now I will praise the Lord." And then she stopped having children. And that's the end of chapter 29, you guys. We've made it through day 2, week 2, day 2. Tomorrow we do day 3. Thank you for joining me. Don't forget to subscribe, share this with your friends, and let's continue this together. All right, bye, you guys.